Hey everyone, it's your favorite indoctrinator. And today I want to ask the question, is all education indoctrination and this question really comes from a graduate science and mathematics seminar professor I had at my college that I went to for liberal arts. And yes, I know they do teach us math and the philosophy of math at a liberal arts school. Believe it or not. um I learned planar non-Euclidean geometry there. um but during one of our discussions, he sort of just casually dropped this lie. He's like, you know, the entire point of this curriculum is to try to free you from your preconceptions based on, the sort of classical arts of learning in the Western world, arithmetic, um, geometry, all of those things. And now I just want to also make a quick disclaimer. I'm not an educator. I do have some experience in special education classrooms because I'm disabled, and I want to help my people, my community. But yeah, I have no experience teaching quote unquote normal kids or anything like that. But he just sort of dropped this, like, yeah, supposedly this curriculum is supposed to free you, but I don't really think it does, because even the Western canon, you know, operates under a certain set of assumptions about what knowledge is the correct type of knowledge. Um, and really in most of our classes, we didn't go beyond about 1950 or 1980 with the material. So, yeah, I mean, we started with like the ancient Greeks and stuff like that, and but obviously there were Indians before that, Babylonians and Africans and indigenous people doing lots of way more advanced stuff. Yet we focus, and keep in mind, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not throwing any shade. I literally I went through an entire graduate program just in that. I love that stuff, but you know, it's not the end all be all. You have to supplement it with people that aren't, you know, Europeans basically. um and I've thought about it more over the years, because he said this drop that bombshell about, 2 years ago. I'm graduated now. I've had 2 years to sort of reflect on it, and yeah, I've come to agree with him, because any sort of education will come with its gaps and its biases and stuff like that. And as human beings, we have to try our best just to fill those in, right? Like, try to not be so limited by our culture and step out of the way to look at things differently. And even just within the Western tradition, he also, and this is a very vulnerable moment for a professor, even though where I went, we called them tutors, and there was a certain, level of equality between us. He let us know that, like, because we were talking about the philosophy of the Pythagorean theorem and Euclid's proof of that and stuff like that. And as we were going through it, because he also made us prove it, like we had to walk through each step and explain to our fellow class members, okay, this is what this step is doing, and like go through the whole proof like that. And before starting class that day, he's like, I have to be honest with you guys before coming here. And keep in mind, this guy's super smart. He has a PhD in oceanography. Um, like, that type of stuff involves complex mathematics and stuff like that. And he said, before I came to teach at this college, I had never realized in my life that the sum of the sides of a right triangle, or the square of the sum of the two sides of a right triangle, is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. I never realized that they're literally squares, and if you literally add up their areas, they're gonna be equal to the area of the square formed by their hypotenuse. That just never occurred to me. And you know it's sort of weird how you can go through your entire life, literally get a PhD in a scientific subject which requires way more advanced mathematics than Euclid. Like, but yet you never realize, like, you know what I mean? And in that sense, I do kind of think education is indoctrination, because so much of it is just like, oh, you understand the algebra, but not necessarily um the geometry behind it. Well, as long as you pass this test or whatever, it's fine. Don't even worry about it. Um and one of those things for me that happens is number bases, right? Like, we usually don't teach kids anything other than base 10, because look, I have 10 fingers, you probably have 10 fingers, unless you have like polydactyly, I think it's called. And so, like, we're like, yeah, there's no need to teach kids anything other than base 10. But the thing is, there are other number bases that you can count in, right? Like, it's not just 0 through 9. Another common base is base 16, where um you have 0 through 9, but 10 to 15 are represented by A through F. And once you hit F, you then go 1 0 again. So once you start to realize that, once you start to get into other number bases, you start to realize that 1 0 is just a container for 16 to the 1. And 1 0 0 in hex is just a container for 16 squared, or 256. um so you see what I mean? And we have to ask the question, are we um doing children and kids and people we educate a disservice by, for example, not introducing the abstraction behind numerals sooner enough? And there's an argument to be made, especially, as we continue through the age of information technology and AI, that we actually should be introducing stuff like that earlier and earlier. Um, so anyway, in that sense, I do think education is actually almost always indoctrination, to an extent. To an extent. Um. Anyway, see you guys. Bye.